Hey everyone, welcome to the Coach Catalyst podcast. This show is about helping you grow as a coach by standing on the shoulders of giants. Each show, you get a different mentor in your ear. The early motivations, the successes, the failures, the tools, the tricks, and the insight into where the industry is going. All of it so you can make your own dent in the world. Remember, success leaves clues. Now, without further ado, on to the show.
Welcome to season 2 of the Coach Catalyst podcast. I'm your host, Trevor Whitwer. On today's episode, I have the pleasure of speaking with Ashley Dwyer of Team BDN Coaching. Now, coaching wasn't necessarily what Ashley set out to do. She actually set out first to get her doctorate in pharmacology. But after she got that and then got into the real world, spent a couple of years there, she realized that that wasn't the life for her. And then she moved into coaching. And she did something really unique when she started in the online coaching world is she niched way down. See, BDN stands for Big Day Nutrition, and she helped ladies get ready for their wedding day. So she was able to become known as the go-to person if you wanted to look your best on your wedding day. And that allowed her to get kind of a foothold in the online world, build her presence, and then grow from there. Her business has since evolved from that, but I think that's a lesson in getting started in the online world. We talk about that lesson, we talk about the struggles, we talk about the successes in building a business in this virtual online world, and you're gonna need a pen and paper for this one. You're gonna have a ton of notes. So without further ado, I hope you enjoy this conversation with Ashley of Team BDN Coaching on the Coach Catalyst podcast. Ashley, welcome to the Coach Catalyst podcast.
Hello, what's up? I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. This is going to be fun. So to give some context for the people listening, I met Ashley. It was at Coaching Con?
Vegas.
Oh, a Robbins event. Mm-hmm. Yeah, speaking of a Robbins event, a little plug for him if you're looking for a good event in, I believe it's in March, the Real Coaches Summit. Check that out. It's a great event. We'll be back there at Coach Catalyst. Ashley, are you going again this year?
I might be going, but if I'm going, I'm bringing my whole team. So I have to decide if I'm bringing like everybody because I want my coaches to learn and be a part of these type of things too. So deciding.
Yeah, it's a great event. It's a great event for coaches because it's very education driven and wide array of speakers. And yeah, I think it's a good event. So, and then we got to see you again at Super Coach Summit. So that was awesome.
Super Coach and Perform Better. And I feel like we've just been following everybody around the US.
All over the place, all the best places to be. Yes. So you have a really cool story, and where you are now is not necessarily where you set out to be from the beginning. And so you're a pharmacist by trade, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, let's go back even further. It's kind of like when you were younger, you were very much into kind of the sporting world, right? So tell me a little bit about that.
I mean, just like anybody, it's kind of funny. I did sports in middle school and high school and growing up, but I played basketball, and then our coach would have us run cross country to get in shape for basketball, which they don't go together, by the way, at all. What? Like long distance and sprinting. She just wanted our endurance up. I don't know. It didn't cross over, but hated cross country, but did it for a year or two. Still to this day, hate running, hate it. Did basketball and then also did flag football. I don't know if you're familiar, but like my school, my first year, like down here, we had actual leagues and teams and districts and states and all of that for women.
Really? In flag football?
Yeah.
That's super cool. And that's in Florida, right?
It was awesome. Yeah. And every time I say that, they're like powder puff. And I'm like, no, like we actually had a team and like a league. And unfortunately, you can't really go anywhere with that after high school. Right. And like, I'm going to make a joke, but I'm 5'5" and white. Like I wasn't going anywhere in basketball either. Like I wasn't doing amazing things in basketball. So I chose the academic route for school.
But the flag football thing is actually kind of interesting, right? Like flag football is like all the great things about football and like none of the stuff that people don't really like. Like no one likes blocking and all of that stuff. Like it's just like you get to just have fun and move around.
I think people like the tackling on TV, like watching it and seeing it, but
Until you get tackled by a 350-pound human being, you maybe don't enjoy tackling very much after that, or being tackled.
Right. And there's no safety equipment, right? You're just running around with a flag, and that's the goal.
That's awesome though. I love that.
But yeah, I loved it. Mm-hmm.
So you're obviously into academia. And so you ultimately went to pharmacy school, but was that always the case when you did your undergraduate? Were you like, hey, that's where I want to go?
No, I was always a math and science nerd. So I kind of knew I was going to do something medical, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I was a UM fan. Like, I wanted to go to UM. I like the Hurricanes.
When you say UM, University of Miami?
Yes, University of Miami. Sorry, from Florida, born and raised. So like it was a Miami thing. I would wear orange and green and like wear Hurricane shirts on college days in high school. And then it came to the part of like deciding and applying to schools and all of that. And Miami's private. It was so expensive, even with a scholarship that I got. And like Florida does this thing called Bright Futures where you get a scholarship based on your SAT grades and ACT scores and whatever. So even with 100% scholarship and the scholarship U of Miami was giving me, it was still like $20,000 a year for undergrad. And I was like, there's no way. And I was choosing pharmacy at the time, and doesn't even have a pharmacy school. So I was like, let me just go to Florida for free and then do the pharmacy school and worry about the loans and stuff later. And it was the best decision ever. Florida was amazing. So yeah, I ended up going to University of Florida.
You had a good time in Gainesville?
So I don't know if you've watched it, probably not, because it came out and you were recently on vacation. But the documentary Swamp Kings,
I'm watching
Swamp Kings just came out on
right
Netflix.
now.
Yeah, I was there during that time, so it was amazing.
Yeah,
I was there during the Tim Tebow era.
That's a pretty epic time to be part of that culture at that time.
Yeah. And we had Billy Donovan like doing amazing things in basketball too. Yeah. So it was just like a really fun time to be there. And then, so I did 3 years of undergrad and then 4 years of pharmacy school. So 7 years at Florida total. And I will say my pharmacy school years, we were not good at all. You couldn't even give away a ticket. It was totally different.
The Super Coach Summit by Coach Catalyst is.
The Super Coach Summit by Coach Catalyst is.
The Super Coach Summit by Coach Catalyst is.
The Super Coach Summit by Coach Catalyst is room for opportunity.
It's badass. It's fucking awesome. Over-delivered. They talked about it, and they definitely did it.
It is amazing. It's just been invigorating.
Is exemplary. It's phenomenal and just a great time with great people. And you feel like in Ohana, you feel like a family.
It's unreal.
It's awesome. What will help separate the 1% from the 99% is a really well thought out event, well conceived, well planned, and well executed.
It's such an amazing event to be at in order to grow your business and network with other professionals.
It is top tier. It's one of the best I've been to in the business. It's been unbelievable, and I'm just excited to finish out the day here and keep making connections.
It's an event that you will be very happy that you have attended because next year is going to be even better than this one.
Is freaking badass. If you're not here, you're missing out. See you next year.
So did you know that you wanted to do pharmacy before you even did your undergrad work?
Yeah. So I enrolled on a pre-pharmacy track. And at the time, like, I don't know if you remember, this was 2007. So like pharmacists were in high demand, signing bonuses were being given out. Like you would sign up to be a pharmacist and you'd get like a BMW, and it was like, awesome. So for women, especially too, it was like, okay, this is going to be a great career. I have time for a family. I'm not on call. I don't have to be in school for like 11 billion years until I'm 31, right? Or whatever it is, if you're a real doctor. So at the time it was like a great career. And then, so the pre-pharmacy track was kind of expedited. You could do 2 years of undergrad, 3 years, or get a bachelor's. I never got a bachelor's. I still to this day don't have a bachelor's degree. Not that I needed it. So it was kind of like a whole track system once I got in, and then you applied to pharmacy schools, and that was it.
Cool. So how long did you last in pharmacy before you kind of changed gears?
Well, let me see. I quit in 2020 and I graduated in 14. So 6 years, 6 years total. Or like 6 years and some change before I finally put in my 2 weeks notice. but I had pivoted 2 years before that. Mm-hmm. So I started my coaching company in 2018 and worked both of them at the same time before I finally left pharmacy. So I kind of knew after the first year, retail pharmacy wasn't for me. There's a really big difference in pharmacy careers, and retail is like the headache meme that you see. Like, where do you have a headache? And it's retail pharmacy.
So
not a good time.
What ultimately got you interested in coaching? Was there kind of a life event, or did you have a coach and kind of change part of your life, or how did you even get into coaching at that time?
Yeah. So I guess there is a backstory to that. In my second year of pharmacy school, I got into like NPC bodybuilding competitions. Are you familiar with those?
No. Shortly.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. So they're National Physique Committee, I think is what NPC stands for. And they're the ones where people get up on stage super tan and like jacked and do all the poses and win the championships for bodybuilding. Okay. The women's division, there's so many now, but back then is when they were kind of just getting started, and bikini was like a new thing. So you're like lean toned in a bikini and you go on there and like you sashay and you pose, like you're not even flexing. And so I did one of those. I don't recommend doing them while you're in grad school. Definitely don't. I was like, no carbs, sleeping, like could not handle it. But I did those, and I just found it fascinating how you could tweak things and get the body to do different results with nutrition. Like I found it so fascinating because I always thought to myself, like I was healthy because I was an athlete. And I was active, but I just thought I was never the type to like have abs or never the type to like whatever. And it was like, no, what I was doing was just completely wrong. So I quickly learned the bodybuilding type of way and did, a couple of shows until I graduated pharmacy school. And then I did one more just to see where I was. But those are ultimately really unhealthy, to be honest. They're not great as far as nutrient density, what you're eating, running your body into the ground. And I kind of developed an a slight eating disorder from it called orthorexia, where you're so focused on what you're eating and when you're eating it and how you're eating. And it just bad relationship with food, horrible. And so many compensatory behaviors where like, if I had something bad, I had to go do fasted cardio the next morning to burn it off. Like not a way to live. Mm-hmm. So I was this itty bitty human, like overtraining, under eating, and dealing with the stress of a pharmacy job. And I kind of threw myself into this like medical hormonal hell. And I ended up having like hormone levels in the gutter, like perimenopause at 27, thyroid issues, like you name it, everything was crazy and off the charts. So I ended up really having to take a step back and assess my lifestyle. And after seeing doctor after endocrinologist, after whatever, I finally fired them all and found a functional medicine practitioner who I loved, who we started working on lifestyle changes. And I was like, I want to do this. Like, I want to do functional medicine. So I looked into what it took to be a functional medicine practitioner. And I was like, I'm not going back to school for 4 more years. Like, it's not happening. What can I do instead? Because I really fell in love with this like preventative medicine approach, not standing behind a counter handing out Band-Aids all day, which was the Western medicine approach, right? Like pills to fix things. So I ended up getting a certified health coach type of thing through ACE. And that's how I've kind of been practicing now, is more preventative medicine and kind of morphing the business as we've been open. But that's kind of the backstory, is like my own health issues that Western medicine failed, and trying to help others not do the same thing that I did.
So when did you, so you probably started having some ideas about your business early on in your pharmacy career. Did you spend like a year or two thinking about it and then you're like, okay, I'm going to do it? Or how did you progress into like really like a side hustle right away with your full-time gig?
This business was never my idea. My current thought process was like, how am I going to get out of pharmacy? But I never, ever considered myself that I was ever going to be an entrepreneur. I was not a risk taker back then. I chose pharmacy because it was a go here, get this degree, make good money, do stuff. Like it had a layout, right? Help people, whatever. It checked all the boxes. And then you get into it and you're like, damn, this was not what I wanted. Trapped in a box for 12 hours sounds miserable. Right. So it fell into my lap because around like 28, I started helping all of my girlfriends get in shape for their wedding. And because I was the healthy friend, right? I was the one who was kind of like, did this before, whatever. So they would ask me for help getting in shape. And I had like 5 girlfriends getting married in 1 year. It was an expensive year. Let's just put it that way. I've been a bridesmaid like 8 times. What's that movie? 27 Dresses?
Right,
I'm on my way.
Right.
So I started helping them and it was working. And they were like, you need to do this for a living. And I was like, I already have a job. I'm already stressed way too much and spread way too thin. There's no way I can do this. And then I sat on it. And yeah, I kind of probably sat on the idea for 6 to 8 months and just like, how would I even do this? Like, what would I even do? And I remember one October, I was like messing around with friends, coming up with names, seeing if there was a domain name available. And then there was, and I bought it and I created the Instagram and Facebook accounts. And like, that's how it started. And my coaching company was called The Big Day Nutrition. So you'll see my email is still The Big Day Nutrition because I started working with women for their weddings. And I started working with brides and like big events. And that's how we started.
Got it. Well, that makes sense. When I was doing some research before this call, I was like, Big Day Nutrition. And I was trying to figure out like, is it around like competition or this or that? But that's really fascinating. So do you feel like because you were niched down, right? You were really speaking to people that were getting ready for a wedding or that big day, that you were able to get some traction kind of in the market early on? Or how did you get those first 5, let's say, paying clients, not necessarily like friends?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I started working for free because I was like, okay, I can help my friends, but let me help strangers. Like, how do I help strangers? So I took on a handful of free clients, and then I took on a handful of like $40 a month clients, right? Just to like,
how did you find your free clients?
Posting on Instagram that I was like taking clients.
Your personal or your business?
Both at the time. I was doing both. I didn't have like what my Instagram page is now was totally different back then. So it was like referrals from people that were like, hey, so-and-so is getting ready for their wedding. They need help. Like, reach out to Ashley. Like, and that's what I did. So that's how I started. And then I went to bridal expos. I would set up a whole table and a whole spiel at a bridal expo down here. Like, it was a whole thing. And it's funny because you think that you're just going to announce that you're a coach and like customers come, running in, but that's not what happens at all. It wasn't until I started hiring business coaches that I like actually started to see traction and knew how to market and knew how to sell myself. Like, drugs sell themselves, right? Nobody has to sell drugs. People want them. And so now I had to learn everything business, like drug dealer to business person. I had no idea.
What's the first big lesson you learned after you got out of free, right? What was one of the first big things that you did that helped move your business forward?
Hiring my first coach, business coach.
What did that coach have you do?
He had me raise my prices and charge what I should be charging. And he had me figure out and nail down exactly what type of coach I wanted to be, or like how to coach clients. And it's funny, he was a pharmacist too, who was into health coaching. So that's why I hired him. Was like, okay, you did this, teach me how you did this and how you left pharmacy. So my prices probably went from like $250 for 2 months for like up to $1,200 for 3 months, right? Like they increased and people paid it. And I was like, oh, okay, this is working.
Right. I mean, well, for you too, like you had people that had a deadline, right? And they're getting married in 3 months or they're getting married in 6 months. And so they're a very motivated individual in order to reach that point, which is kind of exactly what you need as a coach, right?
Yep.
And so you worked on pricing, and then you also worked on a little bit of like positioning. And is that kind of like what your unique selling proposition was?
Back then it was also like creating content. Like, I had no idea how to create content in the way of like providing value or, taking photos. Like I did not like taking photos of myself. I did not speak on my stories. I did not do any of that. And if you go back and I could pull up, if I could pull up those first stories I ever did, they'd be so embarrassing. I was like not a public speaker, super shy about it, hated it. And now like you probably can't shut me up. So,
right. So I mean, that's really interesting. And I think it's really refreshing because a lot of people see people where they're at now, right? And they don't really understand where they started. And why did you continue to push through some of the early struggles and maybe the early insecurities and the early, I don't know how to do this? Was it just a bigger vision?
It was definitely because it was a passion of mine and something I liked doing. The reward was so much better seeing a client make progress and make life-changing things than like, and honestly, every pharmacy shift I worked, I would go home and be like, I cannot wait to get out of here. So it was like that desire too, because you remember at the beginning, I was doing both.
Right.
So in my spare time, I would be doing the business or slow days at the pharmacy. I'd be doing check-ins, like probably not supposed to say that out loud, but I did. And so it was a whole process. Like it did not happen fast. Trust me, like the overnight success, like you said, that takes 10 years. We're still trying to build. Right. And it's funny. You would think, like you asked me originally, the niche down in the market, you'd be surprised at how many people don't want to spend money though, because they're already spending so much on their wedding. They don't really care about doing things the right way. They just want the weight gone. So they will do a fad diet or do something crazy until their wedding and then pick up the pieces after.
So, and that is something unique though, right? Because you're preparing people for a deadline. So did you see then once that deadline hit that you would lose a bunch of clients because they're like, oh, okay, I got in great shape for my wedding and now I'm just going to, go back to living life.
Yep. They would, we would end working together after. And I didn't know enough back then either. I don't even know what I used back then. Like a meal guide. I don't think I even used macros back then. But then I started applying kind of pharmacy knowledge and metabolism knowledge and hormone knowledge. And I kept getting a lot more complicated women, like cases. And all of that I realized I was pigeonholing myself with just doing the wedding industry. And I wanted to instead help more women like stop fad dieting, work with their hormones, like work with their metabolism. And I completely shifted the business, got completely out of weddings, and then rebranded as Team BDN, which is what we are now. So I still kept the BDN because that's what we would refer to ourselves. And now we're a completely different company. Like we still work with women who are getting married. We still work with like new moms or postpartum or pre-pregnancy, but it's not a deadline anymore. It's more like you're here because you want to learn how to fix what's going on, be healthier, eat more, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
As a coach that runs challenges, I needed my life back. I had stuff all over the place. A Facebook group for community interaction, Google Sheets for check-ins and measurements, and was drowning in email communication. As my challenges grew past just a handful of people, I started to notice clients were falling through the cracks. I began researching virtual assistants because I just couldn't manage it all. And truthfully, the client experience was going down the drain. Luckily, a friend recommended Coach Catalyst and just told me to trust her. I'm sure glad I did. Now I can run my challenges with 2 or 200 clients with just a few clicks. The lessons get delivered on the right days, the accountability happens automatically, and most importantly, the communication is all in one spot. I even created 2 new challenges from the Coach Catalyst library. Best part, didn't have to change a thing. I used to spend 15 minutes just trying to log into all the apps I needed. Now I log in and my dashboard tells me who needs a shout out and who needs a kick in the butt in about 15 seconds. I feel like a huge weight is lifted off of my shoulders. I can finally spend my time coaching again instead of worrying about all the admin work. Do your brain a favor and get Coach Catalyst.
And we're definitely going to dig into kind of the changes of that. But going back to, at the beginning when you're working basically 2 jobs, right? You have your full-time pharmacy, which is long days at the office, and then going home and then doing client stuff afterwards. If you had to go back and look at how long you spent on one and the other, how much time do you think you were spending on your coaching business week over week when you still had the pharmacy job?
So I'm trying to think, because I used to work for Walgreens when I first started, which was insanity. And I think I worked there for 3 years. And then I went to Publix, which is a Southeast United States thing, which was way better. But I had 12-hour shifts. So I started this in 2018. So I was working for Publix. I think I only made it 2 months at 40 hours a week and at Publix with the 12-hour shifts with both businesses before I realized I'm going to part-time. So I dropped down to being a part-time pharmacist for only 30 hours a week. So I was doing 30 hours at the pharmacy, and then on my days off, which, were kind of cool because you'd work 2 days on, 1 day off, or 2 days on, 2 days off, every other weekend, whatever. I was probably working 60 to 70 hours a week with both. Okay.
So you were putting in a good 30-ish hours or more on your coaching business at the time.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think of what I was doing because it wasn't stuff that was helping. Like, what was I doing back then? But it was only me. Like, I didn't have a team. I didn't have an assistant. I didn't have anything. So probably content creation and program creation.
Right. And so that was probably just a lot of like passion driven. I want to help people. I'm just going to throw everything at the wall. I'm really deep on this subject. Probably a lot of researching, education, learning.
Yep.
And so
taking certification.
Cool. Yep. Right. So when you felt like you had the ability to move to just coaching only, and I'm done with pharmacy, did you have like a certain client level? Like, hey, I need to get 50 clients. I need to get 100 clients or whatever. And then you're like, hey, I'm going to make the leap. Or did you just get so fed up in the pharmacy world that are like, I'm burning the boats and going and doing it?
So I actually love this question because people, when you're making a pharmacist salary too, and you're doing what you're doing, or you're in your corporate job, you're so kind of afraid to make that leap because you're like, what if, right? Like now I'm only reliant on myself. And people look at me and think it was such an easy decision, but I'll be honest, like I would have never left if I hadn't had like my now ex at the time push me to do it. So I was at a point where I had 45 clients myself and my pharmacy job, and I couldn't do any more with the time I had. I couldn't grow anymore unless I had more time available to me. So I was running out of time. So I had to figure out how to get that. And I didn't know how unless I quit pharmacy. There was no going to per diem. I tried. There was no, because I was like, let me maybe drop down to per diem so that I could still have my foot in the door in case I needed to come back. My district manager at the time was not nice. And he was mad that I didn't want to be a full-time pharmacy manager at a store. And so he wouldn't let me be per diem. And so
what is per diem?
Per diem is only working like here and there.
Okay.
Like a few shifts a week or picking up like things that people request off, like here and there stuff, not a consistent schedule. Mm-hmm. So he wouldn't let me do that. There's a lot of politics in the pharmacy world. It was crazy because I remember being like, oh, you don't have enough shifts for per diem pharmacists, but yet every time we request off, there's never anyone to take our shifts. Right. I'm not understanding.
Right.
So it was a big mess. So I remember being like, what do I do? Like screwed. And my ex at the time, how good are you at Excel? By the way, are you like proficient in Excel?
I can do the basic stuff, like create, but that's about it.
I'm like terrible. I know nothing. I use the sum feature, right? Like whatever. Right. And he had built me out this spreadsheet that had like the quarter, the date, what the program was, how long they signed on, if it was a payment plan, how long the payment plan was. And what it did was extrapolated all this data for months coming to see how much I was bringing in that month and how much I had predicted in payments to come in the following months. Mm-hmm. And so I had got home from work one day and he's like, I made this. He's like, look at what you have coming in for the next 4 months. If you quit, like you are okay to quit. You can put your 2 weeks in and you will be totally fine with this. And it's only going to get better when you have more time to dedicate towards it. And I was like, holy shit. Like, I don't know if we can curse on your podcast, but I was amazed because I hadn't done that. Like, it seems so simple and like a duh thing to do is like calculate your expected income coming in, but I didn't have the time to even sit down and do that. So he had did it for me. And I was like, wow, I have like $8,000 coming in and I'm not doing anything. Like what? Like this is just payment plans coming in. So I put in my 2 weeks notice that next day. Like I sent that email in and celebrated November 2020. I left. And that was during the pandemic too. So I couldn't wait to leave.
Right. So November 2020, we would have been about 6 months, maybe 5 months into the pandemic at that point.
Yep. And pre-vaccine. So vaccines hadn't come out yet.
And so did you see an uptick then in people taking up your services during that time because gyms were closed and all this other stuff? I mean, you're in Florida, but that doesn't really matter all that much, where it was a little bit different. But.
Doesn't mean anything. Yes and no. Like you saw people wanting online training programs and stuff like that because gyms were closed, like you said. But the uptick wasn't until 2021 when you almost had like a year of bad habits kick in and people were like, I need to lose the pandemic weight.
Yeah.
That was the uptick.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how long did you go before you hired your first coach to help you out? Do you remember about how many clients you were at?
Like 5. I think I started October 2018. I didn't hire my first coach until the beginning of 2019.
Okay, so you were still
No.
You were still doing
the end of 2019. Yeah, I was still doing both. The end of 2019, I hired my first coach because I had done it a year and I was like, nothing is working. Like I need help. Mm-hmm. So I found Brian. He's awesome. We're still friends to this day. Like, you know, he does something totally different now. He doesn't even do like health coaching or even business coaching, right? We all evolve, but hired him for 3 months, learned a lot. And then in July of 2020, I hired my second business coach, my second team, different people who showed me the back end and the processes and the lead generation and what really made the dial move. And that's how I started getting clients. And that's how I was able to start bringing in enough to leave pharmacy.
Oh, that's awesome. And so when you went with the second, so it kind of sounds like the first business coach was really like creating the foundation. Like, who are you? What are you selling? How do you help them? What's your pricing? Get all those foundational pieces.
100%. Yep.
And then the second one was like, okay, now how do we start pouring some gas on the fire? And what were some of the things that worked well when you kind of hired that second organization to help you?
I mean, I'm going to say this, but and I know it's super cringy, but as a new business, when you don't have money to spend on things and whatever, like DM outreach was critical. Like those kind of cold, it wasn't even cold DMs. But it was people who interacted with my stuff. Like that was critical. And I hate it now. And we don't do it anymore. Like now I run ads, and have more of an organic traffic, but it was so critical for me at the beginning. I hate to say it, but it worked. Like it was great.
You know, I don't know. I think the cold DM world kind of gets like anything. There's good and there's bad, right? And so, like ultimately, DMing is having a conversation in a digital format, right? Just like we might have a conversation with someone in the grocery store line, right? And they're like, "Hey, what do you do?" "Oh, hey, I help people lose weight for a living." "Oh, cool. Tell me more about and you have a conversation. And so I think it can be done. I think it can be done in a good way. And most likely the way that you approached it was very much in like, hey, let's have a conversation. And if I can help you, like, here are some ways if you want the help. But how did you feel like you were able to create relationships and conversations in that cold DM world?
Oh God. I was so cringy at first. Again, it's like a skill that you have to learn. They had a script for us. So I would try and use the script. And now I'm super comfortable talking it out, helping whatever. But once I kind of got good at it and then you realized how much time you had to dedicate to it, I hired out. Like I hired a DM outreach person and taught them. But it was more like, hey, like, thanks for the follow. You know, what brings you to my page, or how did you find me, or like what resonated with you about this post, whatever. So something that would like kind of start chatting with them. And then, you know, you transition into like their health and fitness goals based on what they told you. Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's almost like no different than someone, if you are like a storekeep, right? And someone walks into your store, it's like, hey, welcome to the store. Like, is there something that you're interested in, or what brought you in today, or yada, yada, yada. And so it's not like you're just going and finding random people on the internet and being like, hey,
no,
like you need to lose weight.
That doesn't work anyway.
Right.
With the way Instagram is set up anyway, I think that goes to like the request folders. So they never see it. Like it doesn't work like that anymore. Right.
Right. And so you saw Instagram as kind of your main platform from a digital standpoint?
Oh, yeah. Instagram and Facebook. Yeah.
Okay.
That was all I used.
How many clients did you have when you hired your first like coach or helper, like someone to start helping you with your business?
Yeah. So I quit pharmacy in 2020, November, and I had like 45, 50. And I remember that being like the cap that I wanted. I didn't want any more. Cause I hadn't been with teams at the time, or maybe I had just started working with my own health coach at that time too. But I noticed that the bigger the teams were, like on the team that I joined, they didn't have the same quality of service. And I didn't ever want to be a team with like each coach having 70 to 80 clients or 100 clients. I didn't want that. I wanted like the personal touch. Mm-hmm. So our roster caps are 50. They're 50 for our clients, maybe 55, depending on the situation or the tier that they sign into. So I had 45, 50, and I think I hired my first assistant coach in December of 2020 because I needed to also free up my time. So we kept getting new clients and I couldn't take them. So I needed someone else.
So tell me about that transition, because I know that can be kind of challenging from a hiring standpoint, because usually you have to hire before you're ready. It's not like you have, hey, 50 clients to just hand this person. They kind of have to take away a bunch of your clients or a handful of your clients and then start building more. So tell me a little bit about that transition.
So my first coach was actually local to Fort Lauderdale. So we would meet up at like coffee shops, and it was great that I could meet her in person, and I would kind of, I interviewed her. She had a coaching company too, but wanted to work for a team. She knew macros. She knew like workouts and stuff like that. And at the time, that's all I needed. Like, I just need another body. And so I brought her on and just kind of taught her the way that I do things. And that was it. And helped her through like how I kind of still do when I train my coaches. Like, they have access to me at all times for any questions. And we would do things together at first. And then, off she goes.
So did you give her, 10 or 20 of your clients to start coaching to free up some more of your time? Or was it just any new person coming on just went to her?
Any new person went to her. I kept my OGs. The client transfer process is tough. So want to minimize that as much as possible.
So did you have a relationship set up where she got like paid kind of a percentage of each client's revenue coming in, or did you pay her outright of like, X amount an hour? How did you maybe mitigate some of that risk from bringing on someone new without necessarily?
So I used a pay scale that I got from the coaching company that I joined, like the group coaching. They gave us like assistant coach paying outlines, like they had everything out. And so the way that I was paying her was a set amount per client per month.
Cool.
Based on the program. So it wasn't like and it was based on her roster cap. So we were capping her at 50. So she would, make such and such per year with a full roster. And then she got incentivized with more money per client if she brought on that client herself. I still do that.
Cool. Mm-hmm. So if they bring in someone,
I'm still providing all the clients.
If they bring in someone to your coaching business, they have a little higher monthly for that person. But if someone's coming through your marketing pipelines, then it's kind of a scale there. Awesome. That's really interesting. So what is your kind of service offering look like now?
Now it is totally different. Now we still have, I still have a 3, 6, and 12 month plan situation. We have nutrition only. We have nutrition and fitness. We utilize macros for most clients. So, no meal plans, don't like meal plans, not going to happen. But now we kind of offer, you're asking as far as what our plans include and what our offerings are, right?
Yeah, just basically the basic, what are the potential deliverables for your business at this point, since you've been doing this for, a couple of years now?
Yeah. So now we do custom nutrition protocols, custom fitness protocols. We do blood work through Merrick. I can do blood work through Merrick now. I was trying to do it through other situations before because with metabolism and hormones, I really need to see where you're at. I need to see your stuff, right?
Yep.
And it's shocking to me, but a lot of people don't get blood work per year, at all. So we got to get that. So we offer that. We offer, we have group chats and community support. We have 24/6 access with their coach. I pride myself on our team's response time. I love it. And that's something that we definitely market and that sets us apart from other coaches. If you have a question and you message your coach on every day but Saturday, you're going to get an answer within the hour, if not half hour. You're going to get a quick answer. Whereas in other teams and stuff I've even been on, it's a 24-hour response time. And you're I don't even need to know the answer anymore. That time has passed. I didn't get your help. So super big response time. We have a course component that I built out called the BDM Blueprint. So all things education and courses for macros, tracking, nutrition that they could go through themselves as a self-study. A ton of resources that we built out for them every other week. So twice a week, we do team Zoom calls. So for some FaceTime with a coach leads a Q&A and we do Zoom calls. And then we have a mental health professional kind of contracted with us to do monthly mental health coaching calls as well, because that's a huge component of habit change and all that stuff too. What else? Weekly check-ins, I don't even know. We have so much in the program.
So how do you ultimately structure the program? Is it kind of a la carte based upon what that client needs? Or is it package A, package B, package C? When you're selling this to a client, what are the packages that they could potentially come into?
It's package based. It's based on time commitment. So 3, 6, or 12 months. And then it's based on nutrition only and nutrition and fitness only. And then the blood work is an add-on if they want that. So there's really only 2 options. Mm-hmm.
So it's really an A/B, hey, get on a call with someone. What are you looking to do? Do you need this? Do you need that? Okay, would you rather commit to 3, 6, or 12 months and then get rolling from there? So how has that evolved from what you were before?
How what?
How has that evolved? What was it before? So it's evolved into that now, but what was it when you initially started?
I think I had just plans where everything was included and I didn't have as much stuff at all. We didn't do Zoom calls. We didn't do mental health stuff. Didn't do blood work. It was really nutrition, fitness, and then tell me how long you want to choose our time length package. And I had 3, 6, 9, and 12 at the time. I cut out 9. It's this is dumb. We're just doing 3, 6, and 12. I should honestly cut out 3 months, but I won't. We'll still keep that for certain people who come in. Why won't I cut it out, or why do I want to cut it out?
Why won't? Well, both.
I would like to cut it out because 12 weeks in the history now that we've been doing this is not long enough for most people, especially if they're starting at ground zero. And it's also not long enough with hormonal and metabolism issues. You can't make your metabolism speed up or your hormones speed up after years of damage. We got to do what the body, you got to give it time. And so the 12 weeks is almost where they kind of commit, they start to see progress, and then they think they can do it on their own. And not that they can't, but we usually get them reversed up by then, and then they have to stay at maintenance and they lose accountability and they fall off track, and then that whole thing goes bad. So if I could just keep them for that 6 months, they would see much more progress and have that sustainability way longer than just 12 weeks. And I don't throw it away because sometimes we have people who are, just basically eating in a surplus and just need help with how to lose weight. And that 12 weeks is amazing for them.
Right.
So
what would you say the majority of your people choose when they're coming in? Do they choose 3 to 6 or 12?
They choose 6. Majority of people choose 6. And then majority also re-sign. So I think our like average plan length is 10 to 11 months with us, which is awesome. I think it's like 10 months.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's great. Cool. So now as your business is a little bit more mature, what do you see as the main kind of lead sources now? Is it still heavy Instagram? Has it gotten in more referrals? What are you seeing now?
It's still very much social media. Always. It's going to be now we're on TikTok. So it's TikTok and Instagram, Facebook ads. And yeah, there's still going to be referrals and word of mouth, but it still really is socials and ads. Same thing.
Right. So if you had to break down how much time you spend on each component of it, let's say in an 8-hour day, how much time are you spending coaching versus marketing versus other operations? Any idea?
Okay, so I am trying to remove myself from coaching. So I have 12 clients that are like hanging on. I don't take anything on. So in those 12 clients, depending on the day, like today, I think I have, hold on, how many check-ins do I have? By the way, we're like rolling everything over into Coach Catalyst right now. And like trying to put all these clients into it is so fun, but crazy. Okay, I have 2 check-ins today. So I will probably spend, there it is, video go. I have 2 check-ins today. So I'll probably spend honestly like an hour on those, depending on when they get back to me, like an hour on the check-ins. Content creation takes up most of my day. Content creation and marketing is what I do now. I am a content creator. And then what else do I do? I'm also working on a side project too. So that is taking away. I talked to you about this. I know about it.
I'm not going to say anything, but I know about it.
I was like, so that's taking up some time. And then packing is taking up some more time. So my work days right now are very much structured into like my own podcast recording once a week. So that'll be like an hour, half hour, editing that because I do all that. Content creation is most of my day. That's like 2 to 3 hours, or coming up with like admin stuff. Also helping my coaches with things and issues that need to go on, invoices, paperwork, sending out new contracts. Like I still do all of that stuff. I am working on offloading some of that too. But depends on the day. Some days we have 10-hour, 12-hour days, and some days I have 5-hour work days.
Right.
It's great.
So I'm a content creator. You've evolved into a content creator now. I mean, that's kind of the trajectory of how the business has evolved, right? Is that what you ultimately wanted?
No. Nobody like starts a business or wants to become a coach. And then you're like, oh, I have to do these reels because that's what Instagram wants. And that's how I'm going to get exposure. Like I never thought I'd be lip syncing or dancing online. So you don't have to do those things, but
that's kind of sometimes, it's the crux we see a lot, even in the fitness world. Like someone becomes a personal trainer, right? Because they just love helping people and they love working with people, and then they're good at it. So they get more clients. And then eventually they're like, okay, the next logical step is to own a gym. Okay. So they go and they start their own gym. But now once they start their own gym, they're not really a personal trainer all that much anymore because it's a completely different skill set. Right. They're a gym owner.
Yeah.
And so I see a lot of people just aren't necessarily happy with that, but they thought that was the next step or the next rung. And then they kind of get handcuffed into that to an extent. And so I'm just curious from when you're at, it's just an online progression. And so like, is content creation, is it just like, this is what needs to be done for the business? Or have you started to like kind of embrace it and find enjoyment in it?
Honestly, I like it. And I feel like it's a fun now, because when I first started, it was like, let's shift your Instagram away from personal stuff to business stuff and content only, right? And now there's kind of that mesh where I get to do both. Like you can see my personality and you can like understand knowables about me and my story. You see my dog, you see whatever, but then I also get to provide value, right? Which is in a fun way, in an entertaining way. So I've kind of embraced it at this point, and I really do love teaching. I got to speak to University of South Florida's pharmacy school, like an elective 2 weeks ago. And I was like, how did I not end up in academia? Like, I kind of love it. So I've embraced it more. And that's where the public speaking stuff I want to start doing later. Like, see, used to be so shy. Now I'm like, get me up on the stages. I want to talk, even though I'll probably be scared to death.
Well, I mean, that's awesome. And that's just like the evolution of, being a human, right?
I'd recommend this to any coaches or even clinicians out there that are looking to build a business around a product that they already really believe in.
As a brand new user, just being sold on the streamline of being able to put everything in a centralized location, anyone that is just fumbling with Google Sheets to Facebook messages, group messaging, text messaging.
For anybody that wants to be able to coach their clients, many times you use different tools and resources, and when you're trying to manage that, even on a Google Sheet or on regular technology, you're limited on duplicating the data over and over.
I think if I'm going to, recommend the app for anyone, it's going to be myself. If I want to take my business to the next level, so definitely looking to do that in the near future here. Everybody can really benefit from it. I use it in the rehab sphere, but I also utilize it in the training thing. You can do the same thing with nutrition, right? There's so many uses for it.
For everybody, coaches, clinicians, anyone that kind of works in the industry, chiros, PTs, trainers.
This is one simple solution that we can create to all of our users and all our clients.
So if you want to create a way to systematize your business so you can scale, I have not seen a better product for that.
And probably for you, what I see from my end is willing to take risks and willing to put in the work on things that maybe I'm not good at right now, but I know there'll be a payoff, and then ultimately becoming good at them.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, like I said, I was never a risk taker. Like if you would have told me even, I say 5 years ago usually, but 5 years ago is when I almost started my business. But even if you would have told me in September that I'd be like a full-fledged entrepreneur, like 5 years ago, I would laugh at you. I'd be like, there's no way. And now I'm like, I don't know how I was doing anything else in my life. So even if I learn it and I'm not good at it, this is where I tell people, like, hire someone to teach you. Like, I value efficiency, and maybe that's because of my pharmaceutical background. Like if you were an inefficient pharmacist, you didn't get anything done. You were in the weeds all day. Your pharmacy sucked. Like pharmacy taught me efficiency and also how to thrive in chaos, which is probably not great. But I want to be efficient. So yeah, I could probably look it up and learn myself, but I don't want to do that. I'd rather just hire someone, teach me it, tell me how to do it, and then I'm going to do it and practice it until I get better at it. It's kind of like a gym thing, right? Like you tell clients, like, get the reps in, like practice it over and over and do it over and over and over again until you kind of become good at it or you become comfortable with it. And that's all it is. It's not like a magic pill. It's just doing it until you become comfortable.
Well, it's like any new skill, right? Like everyone stinks at it right away. But if you have a coach, you're probably going to progress a lot quicker because you're not going to make the mistakes that you would probably make in the learning process because you have someone kind of shaping the path.
Well, even if you did, you will learn to like give yourself grace. Like they'll remind you like, hey, this is just a bump in the road. Turn around. We're good. Like you won't beat yourself up as much and you'll get right back on track faster, which I always say like the best way or the fastest way to get results is to like bounce back quicker, like bounce back from a bad thing quicker. A coach will help you get back on track even if you do mess up. Like we're all going to mess up a lot. I messed up this week. I don't know if you saw, probably not. But my story yesterday, like I royally messed up a launch I just did. Oops.
How did you mess it up?
So I run this program twice a year. That was a different coach I hired after my second one. I hired a third coach to teach me containers, like an ascension model, right? Okay, so I've hired all these different coaches to teach me different skills.
Yeah.
And so I was only one-on-one coaching. And then I needed containers for people who maybe couldn't afford one-on-one, but still needed help. So I created this 12-week program that I ran twice a year called Master Your Metabolism. And it was group coaching. And we really focused on reverse diets and the dieting before the diet. And I ran it like 4 times by now. And it's always in my calendar to run spring or like early spring, winter or late winter, whatever. We don't have seasons in Florida, so I don't know. And then September. So early fall, late summer. And so I remember running it this year and being like, I don't want to launch this anymore. I just want to create an evergreen group coaching program. Like, I just want to have group coaching always available as an option. It's a lower accountability, etc. And I created it and we launched it over the summer and we still have it. And then because MYM was still in my schedule and I'm so ADD right now with moving and all the things that I'm doing, I still launched it. I was like, wait, we don't need this program anymore. So I came on my stories and sent out emails yesterday like, actually, this is what happened. We're scrapping this. We're running a deal on our group coaching program instead to make up for the oopsie. And here we are.
Well, did you get some new clients out of the oops?
Yeah, we have some people taking advantage of the group coaching program, but I was just like, how did I do that? Like how, you're 5 years in and you're still like forgetting what you've created. Like you're forgetting your programs.
You're a slave to your calendar. If it's on the calendar, it's got to be done.
And Allie's like, we call that ADD launching. I was like, yeah, for sure. Like not paying attention.
Oh, I love it.
Oops.
So if you had to give advice to a coach that was maybe in a similar position to you, where they have a full-time job, but their passion is really in the health and wellness space and helping people change their lives, what would your kind of first piece of advice for them be?
I mean, I like anyone on any goal, figure out your why and figure out like if your why is big enough, because that's the only way that's going to keep you motivated to keep doing it. Because the nights are going to get really long. You are going to be super tired. It is going to seem super hard and you're going to want to throw in the towel. But if your why is like, no, I need to get out of this because my vision for this is like so much better. And, I just want to make an impact or I want to work for myself. Like, even at your summit with Jason Phillips talking, like you're allowed to say you want to make money or you're allowed to like be your own boss, right? Like, even if that's your why and you just want to get out of corporate, like make sure it means so much to you because you're going to fall back on that so many times. Like, why am I doing this? Why am I whatever? And so as long as you're concrete in your goal, that's the first step is like build that foundation of motivation, like internal motivation. And then hire help. Like, even if you can't afford it, put it on a credit card. The ROI is going to be unmatched for where you're at, because I don't care, unless you're a business person who's just repeatedly starting new businesses, we know nothing about business. And even if you know something about business, maybe you don't know anything about marketing. And if you do know something about marketing, maybe you don't know anything about client relations and like team management, right? Like, I was never someone's boss either. So it's like then bringing on team members, like, how do I be an effective leader? How do I be an effective boss? So like hire people to help read a bunch of books, hire people.
I mean,
that's always my advice is to invest.
So how long, I call this period like the trough of sorrow, where you're past the excitement of starting something new, but you're not quite to the sustainability of having built such thing and it has some legs. How long do you think your trough of sorrow was, where you really had to like motivate yourself and do some self-talk to keep pushing because there was another side to it that you had to get to? Do you remember?
Okay. So this is going to sound, I don't know how this is going to sound. I still feel like we haven't made it, right? Like I still feel like I'm still building. Like I haven't made it to sustainability yet. So it's just a constant uphill grind for me, no matter, I feel the same as I did when I was a 1-person team now as a 6-person team. Like I feel the same, like we haven't made it yet, because it's not just like, I mean, you're also dealing with like a recession and all this other stuff too, right? So it's not like clients are just like flying in every day and we have way too many to work with. So lead generation and keeping that wheel going is always something that I'm striving to do, or how do we be better? So I don't know if I've ever left that like we have legs thing. Like people will tell me like, now I'm pretty sure you're good. And I'm like, nope, we're not. Like, I can't fully remove myself from the business yet. We're not there. And so I don't know if I've ever left it, but I also am never going back to pharmacy. So I will never give up. I might have a moment where I cry and get frustrated, but I will never have that like sorrow period where I'm feeling bad about it, because this is so much better than what I was doing before. Like, yes, it has its disadvantages and you're working 24/7 sometimes,
right.
But I would take this over anything. So it doesn't take me long to switch my attitude.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like a great advice. Like, I don't know if I have like advice for someone struggling. This was something that I freaking love. I could talk nutrition and fitness and hormones all day. That's what I'm saying. Like, you have to shut me up now.
Right.
And so it's not work to me.
Right. And that may be a bigger piece of it. When it doesn't feel like work, you can do it forever. Right.
Yeah.
Because you're having
as
fun with it. As
cliche as that damn thing is. We're definitely working, but you have like a bigger purpose now, you know?
What's one thing, you know, we always, when we're starting or we want to start something new, we have this vision of what it's going to be like. Right. And marketers online kind of paint that vision, right? You're sitting on the beach with a laptop or whatever with an online business. Was there any vision that you had while you were still working pharmacy that like, this is what the online world is going to be like, that you then, once you got into the online world, were like, that isn't even close to the truth?
Yeah, I thought I would be, like you said, in a lot of different places with my laptop or my phone more often, or be in like cool coffee shops or whatever. And I mean, just this year and even last year, I more started traveling for conferences and seminars, but I wasn't doing that in the beginning because it was expensive. So now I think I'm starting to get into that realm more, but instead it's just like me at home with my laptop making reels. Like, it's very lonely. It's very quiet. And you can't even go into coffee shops because you can't record reels there.
Right.
Or TikTok videos. So it's more lonely than I thought it was going to be.
As a gym owner, Coach Catalyst is the key to having low turnover. For several years, I struggled and spent 10 to 20 hours a week communicating with clients via phone calls, Facebook Messenger, email, and text messages. I had tried everything to make my life more efficient. I was at my wit's end. And then I found Coach Catalyst. Since starting the software, I have found a life again, and my clients are thanking me for being so involved in their fitness life. I've cut my daily commitment to interacting with over 300 clients to under 15 minutes a day, and have streamlined my 6-week challenges. I couldn't recommend it more. I just don't know if I would even be here today if it wasn't for Coach Catalyst. If you don't have an account already, you're missing out and not helping the people you could be.
Now, how
that kind of sounds bad, but
that's like, but that's the reality of it, right? Like, and especially when you go from like a pharmacy job where you're around other people and techs and you're seeing customers every day and having conversations, to going to really an online, like, you're doing probably client calls but it's a lot more kind of digital communication and not face-to-face communication.
Yeah.
And so is there any ways that you try and like, because that's like a human need, right? Like, we need to talk to people. We need to be in the same space as people and have that energy exchange. Is there anything that you actively put into your life to be like, hey, I need to make sure I go out and talk to people or I'm going to be a crazy person with a dog?
Yeah, I will say that's been like a big thing for my mental health, is like being home too much and being alone too much. It was negatively impacting my mental health, and still does if I get too much in a crutch, which is also why I'm moving to Austin. I can explain that later, but I go to the gym several days a week, even if it's just to get steps, because I need to get out of the house and I know people at the gym. So I get that interaction. I make sure to, this kind of sounds dumb, but like, I make sure to actually go grocery shopping instead of ordering delivery, because I'm in the store and I'm around people and like, I just need to be out and about. So I'll go grocery shopping if I don't have the time. I'll schedule like dinners and stuff with friends and just try and at least do something social, once a week or twice a week if I can, because sometimes the days of the week get so crazy. I'll see my family once a week, but I'll have like consistent voice memos with friends that we catch up on all day. Like we're big voice memoing people. So I'll still try and have that type of communication, but it does get lonely. And then I take Finn for probably 4 walks a day. And he's like, Mom, why are we going outside again?
I need a walk.
Yeah. It's just like, I need to get out of the house. Let's go.
But I think that's a reality though of it. It's a complete change in how work is done. And this is probably not just unique to the online space, but even to our overall culture of moving to a work from home type of environment, intellectual work, right?
For sure.
So do you have like a schedule? Because like you are your own boss now to an extent, and you have some other people that are involved. And so do you structure your day now in a way that allows you to kind of, I do this at this time, this at this time, this at this time, or are you a little bit more free flowing, haphazard?
No, I'm definitely like a planner. And I have a routine. So I'll wake up in the morning. I'll check some emails and stuff in the morning, but then I go to the gym by like 9 every day. So like 9:30, I'm at the gym until probably only an hour and a half at most. And then I come home, I'll schedule like this was at 11:30. I'll schedule like my podcasts or like if I have therapy that day or errands will be after the gym. So like after the gym to about 1. And then after 1, like I'll eat lunch. I'll take Finn for a walk to break up the day. And then I'll like actually dive into check-ins and stuff at like 1:30. And then I'll probably sit at my computer and do content creation and check-ins until like 6 p.m. So I really don't get to the bulk of my computer work until like, depending on the day, like 12 or 1. And then I only work until 5 or 6.
Have you found that the afternoon is kind of your kind of golden hours where you feel like you're the most creative, or is that just kind of what it's happened to be and what makes sense with your schedule?
No, that's just what I have to do for my schedule. I would say I'm probably most creative, like from 11, like later morning until early afternoon. When it gets past like 2 or 3, I'm already like brain dead at that point. So I'm just like making myself do the stuff we have to do. I tried switching around my schedule and doing the gym later and using my creative hours in the morning, but then the gym it wasn't the same experience. I didn't love like being in the gym around lunchtime. I didn't even have like a great workout, or I'd have to push the workout even farther back because something would pop up.
Right.
So I'm still that person who has to get the workout done first thing in the morning, and then I can like do the rest.
Right. The prioritization of having it sooner, just like any other client. Like if a client thinks that they're going to work out after work and they have kids and all these other things, like realistically, it's probably not going to be a successful long-term solution because stuff comes up and it gets pushed. Okay. That's really interesting. So what's next for your business? Like what's the next mountain to climb?
So the next thing is what we're working on right now is switching software completely. And I think that sounds like something easy, but like I said, we have this course built out. We have all these resources to help clients. So I have to change and record all of that stuff and teach them a new food app because we're switching apps. So no more MyFitnessPal. So we have to do all that, which is going to be like an undertaking. We are I'm transitioning one of my coaches into a head coaching position. So that will take me away from kind of answering all of the questions that the other coaches have.
I think this is interesting. How do you define kind of your call to hierarchy, for lack of a better term, but like head coach versus assistant coach?
I mean, you could do it based on seniority or based on, who has the most credentials. But the way I'm doing it is my coach with the most seniority is actually in school for her doctor of occupational therapy thing. So she's going to go on to this is a part-time thing for her. She's a part-time coach. So she wouldn't be a good fit for head coach. Yep. So my next in line used to be a previous business owner. This is a different coach than what I told you before, but she used to own her own business. And then last year I hired her in December and we morphed into my business. So she's had an assistant coach before. She has experience working with other coaches, owning a business, marketing, email lists, like doing all of that. So she's interested in being in that head coach position. So that's who I'm grooming and training to be in that position.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then my other coach is brand new, so she would not be great yet.
How do you find new coaches? How do you find assistant coaches?
Well, I post online and they apply for people who follow me, or I have other coaching friends post it and they apply. So one of my girlfriends who lives in Austin has a certification. It's like a health mindset certification. So she'll post in her alumni group, like, hey, this team is hiring. Anyone interested? I'll do that for other coaches that I know too. And then we'll just go through the applications, do interviews, and see who would be a good fit.
Cool. So you don't find it hard to find new coaches when you need them? Or you
Absolutely. do? It's not an easy process. The one coach I told you I hired first, the first coach I ever hired, that was a hire quick. You know the rule, like hire slow, fire fast? That was a hire quick, fire real slow. And it's still biting me in the ass that I did not let her go sooner. So now it's like, let me take the time to see if this person is actually like a good fit for the team, a good fit for our personalities, coachable, you know, all the things. And so I'm getting better at that process. Again, have to learn, trial and error.
Do you put them on like a probationary period where it's like, hey, we're going to give this 60 days and then see if it's a good fit? And if it's not, then, or how do you kind of vet that?
I can't do that because it depends on how many clients they get and what type of clients they get, right? So it's almost like a relationship where you have to see them in different conditions and in different situations. So there's no probation period, but it, you know, in the back of my head, I have like, okay, 6 months, how are we doing? A year, because even when they get clients, they're with us for like 6 months. So then I start to see, like I keep KPIs and we do exit surveys. So I start to see those exit survey feedback. I start to like, you know, if there are any complaints, get complaints and then see how it's all going.
My favorite thing about Coach Catalyst.
One of the things I love most about Coach Catalyst.
There are lots of things I love about Coach Catalyst.
And the reason why I love Coach Catalyst is that
the accountability off the back of that
is simplicity.
The support is amazing.
It allows me to give so much of me to my clients.
It's the drip feeding of content.
I can schedule lessons for my clients in advance.
Game changer for freeing up time.
It gives me my time back.
It's so simple and so easy.
Hi, I'm Kane, the founder of Coach Catalyst, the #1 accountability and communication software on the market today. We help coaches just like you keep their clients accountable and scale their business beyond what they've ever been able to do before. So if that sounds like something you want, let's take a look at how we can help. So Coach Catalyst was built on the 4 C's of coaching. Those are content, communication, community, and consistency. So for content, you need to go beyond just workouts and deliver the whole experience for the client so they get the results they deserve. For communication, you need to own your communication. If you don't own the communication, you don't own the client. So make sure you stop texting clients and use a centralized platform. For communities, get off of Facebook groups and take ownership over your social group with Coach Catalyst communities. And for consistency, the foundation of all results for clients, we took the best-selling book Atomic Habits and built all these fundamentals right within our app that's going to guarantee to get your clients the best results possible. If you want to start using the 4 C's with your clients, content, connection, community, and consistency, make sure you run over to Coach Catalyst and start a free trial today.
Got it. So it's really just keeping your pulse on the situation or keeping your tab on the pulse really, really strong early on and
always
kind of watching it.
Always.
Cool. I love it. So you personally too, you're kind of working on building this business that doesn't rely on you to execute on a daily basis.
I'm trying to remove myself from a lot of it so I can focus on the new venture, which will be a certification for coaches.
Right. It's going to be super cool. And there's nothing right now like that in the industry. So we'll make sure to let people know about it once it comes out.
And that is also a huge undertaking that I had no idea how much it was going to be.
And honestly, that kind of plays into this idea of teaching, right? And finding that, hey, I actually really love teaching, and you have the background to be able to create something really cool. So kind of fulfills that.
Yeah, and I think it fills an important gap in the industry where other people will become better coaches, which will help more people because of what they're going to learn. So that's like always amazing in and of itself. So,
well,
can't wait.
We'll leave that cliffhanger there. And depending on when this launches, it may or may not have come out yet, but it'll be coming soon.
No, it has not. Definitely not.
All right. So let's kind of wrap this up with just some like rapid fire stuff, just random questions that are super simple. Taco, burrito, or quesadilla?
Taco.
Well, you're moving to Austin, so like, perfect.
Okay, but here's the thing. There is a limit on how many tacos you can eat a day. There really is.
What's the limit? I've yet to find it. What is the limit?
Oh my God. I just feel like you don't need tacos for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
I mean, it depends.
Like choose one meal.
Breakfast tacos for breakfast, a little lighter lunch.
I know.
Oh, I like it.
And then maybe we switch to a burrito. But I'm lactose intolerant, so it'll never be a quesadilla. Never.
That's all right. You got a lot of options with tacos. You got a lot of options. All right. If you could live in any cartoon world for a week, what cartoon world do you live in? You might have to go back to your childhood a little bit.
Cartoon world. I'm like, oh my God. The only one that I can think of because it's still on TV is SpongeBob.
Interesting.
And I'm like, is that even what we would do? I don't even know if I'd want to be underwater.
We'll find out.
I'm trying to think of cartoons. Rocket Power. I used to love that one.
There you go. Kid. I like it. There's no right answer. I like it. SpongeBob. We got it. Yeah. Next one. If you could be reincarnated as an animal based upon your personality, what animal do you come back as?
Oh, Lord. I feel like this is a good, I know these are supposed to be rapid fire, but I'm like, I have no idea.
What's the first thing that comes to mind?
Well, I was like, damn, I would like to be a dog, but then there are dogs that are like duds, Like my dog has a crazy personality. But then I was like, maybe, I don't know, are dolphins like fun?
I hear dolphins are awesome. I live in Minnesota, so we don't have many dolphins here, but.
No, yeah.
I like it.
Maybe a dolphin.
I like it. All right. Last one. If you could have dinner with one or two people, past or present, who do you choose to have dinner with? Who would you like to?
I was like, I hate this question because I don't know. Like I do really bad at being put on the spot for questions. And I always say something. I'm like, oh, this would have been so much better. And I don't know if I have like an idol that I want to sit down and talk with or like a person. I know I do, but I can't think of it. Okay, this is going to sound really woo-woo because I did see him once and he was great, but I think all of his philosophies on life are, I'm not into the woo-woo crowd, but I would like to sit and just be in like a conversation with Tony Robbins at one point. Yeah. Like, he was great when I first started. I went to one of his things.
Which one did you attend?
Oh my gosh. It was something down here in Fort Lauderdale. The 10X thing is Grant Cardone. Yeah. What was his?
Wasn't the business one? Was it just like his main event? I don't remember what it's
called. It was
called.
a lot of entrepreneurs who were there. So I think it was a business one. Maybe it was a business one for sure. Okay. And it was definitely 2018 because it was like 6 months before I started this business. And I was like, ooh, this was kind of motivating. What do I do? We're just going to stick with that one. I don't know the second one yet. I know it's probably going to be some like athlete or doctor. I don't know.
That's good. No, I think Tony Robbins is a good one. He's had a ton of impact, right? When you think about people that have had a lot of impact in their chosen career, like for sure is up there with a lot of other people.
You know what I find fascinating about him? And it's not even the impact. Like, yes, it is, but it's his attitude. He has such a like zest for life and like a positivity. That's what I find contagious, is like the perspective shifts. And like this, like even when shit gets really negative and down, he just has this like abundant way of thinking and living. And like, that's what I want to encompass.
Right. I love it. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. So if people want to learn a little bit more about you or check out business stuff, where are the best places to go?
Or the crazy fun reels, you can find me on Instagram at dr.dwyer. So dr.dwyer. Same on TikTok. You can find our website at teambdaandcoaching.com and read all about the stuff there and apply to work with us if you're interested. You can always just slide in my DMs too. I'm like open to talk to anyone or answer any questions people have. So don't hesitate to reach out at any time. Just normal people.
I love it. Well, thanks for hanging out with me for the last hour.
Yeah, this was fun.
We'll have to do it again.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to another episode of the Coach Catalyst podcast. If you are a coach looking to do more for your clients than just workouts, give Coach Catalyst a test drive. Try it for 14 days. Jump on call with your personal strategy coach, Ashley, and see how easy technology can be, all for free. Tell them Trevor sent you. Until next time, keep changing lives.